Men's perception of intimacy is deeply rooted in their individual upbringing, cultural influences, and personal experiences, making it a complex and multifaceted topic. The way a man views sex with you is not merely about the act itself, but is tied to his broader understanding of connection, relationships, and self-worth. To delve into this idea, one must recognize that perception begins long before any physical interaction takes place. It is shaped by the dynamics of your relationship, the context in which intimacy occurs, and the emotional depth or lack thereof that exists between the two individuals. At its core, intimacy is a mirror reflecting how a person views not only the other, but also themselves. Men often approach sex with a set of preconceived notions, whether consciously or subconsciously, influenced by societal norms, personal insecurities, and past encounters. For some, the act of intimacy holds significant emotional weight, symbolizing trust, vulnerability, and connection. In these cases, their perception is rooted in respect and admiration. They see intimacy as an extension of the bond shared and a way to deepen it. For others, however, intimacy may be more transactional, driven by physical desire or a sense of conquest. This perspective often reduces the act to a momentary pleasure detached from emotional involvement. The perception of sex is also intricately linked to how a man views the woman involved. Is she someone he respects, values, and sees as a partner in every sense of the word? Or does he see her as someone fulfilling a temporary need or desire? These distinctions matter because they influence how the act of intimacy is remembered, processed, and valued. A man who views sex as a meaningful exchange will often carry the emotional resonance of that connection with him, shaping how he treats the woman afterward. In contrast, a man who sees it through a lens of casualness may struggle to ascribe deeper significance to the experience. Men's attitudes towards intimacy can also reveal their level of emotional maturity. An emotionally mature man understands that physical connection cannot exist in isolation. It is intertwined with respect, communication, and understanding. For such men, the perception of sex goes beyond the physical and becomes a holistic experience that incorporates emotional and psychological dimensions. They recognize the importance of consent, mutual satisfaction, and the emotional aftermath of the act. On the other hand, men who lack emotional maturity may view intimacy as a means to validate themselves or assert control, reducing the experience to a superficial interaction devoid of genuine connection. Another aspect influencing perception is the context in which intimacy occurs. The circumstances leading up to the act, whether it is a product of love, a fleeting encounter, or an attempt to fill an emotional void, play a significant role in shaping how a man views the experience. For instance, when intimacy arises from a place of genuine affection and understanding, it often leaves a lasting impression. The man is likely to view the act as a testament to the closeness shared. Conversely, when intimacy is rushed or occurs without a strong emotional foundation, it may be perceived as less significant, possibly leading to feelings of detachment or regret. Cultural and societal expectations also weigh heavily on men's perceptions of sex. In many cultures, men are taught to view intimacy as a conquest or an achievement rather than a mutual and meaningful exchange. These ingrained beliefs can distort the way men approach and perceive sexual experiences. A man raised with such notions may place more emphasis on the act itself rather than the person involved, leading to a disconnection between the physical and emotional aspects of intimacy. However, those who challenge these cultural narratives often develop a more balanced and respectful view, seeing sex as a shared moment of connection rather than a means to an end. Additionally, personal insecurities and past experiences play a crucial role in shaping perception. A man carrying unresolved emotional baggage may view sex as a way to distract himself from his internal struggles or to gain a sense of validation. In such cases, the act of intimacy becomes less about the other person and more about satisfying his own emotional needs. On the other hand, men who have worked through their insecurities and understand their worth are more likely to approach intimacy with a sense of balance and respect, recognizing it as a partnership rather than a one-sided experience. Finally, it is important to consider the role of communication in shaping perception. A man who values open and honest communication is more likely to view intimacy as a mutual and respectful exchange. He understands that the experience is not just about physical pleasure, but also about understanding and meeting the needs of his partner. This level of awareness and consideration often leads to a more positive and meaningful perception of the experience. On the contrary, when communication is lacking or absent, misunderstandings can arise, leading to skewed perceptions and potential emotional fallout. The way a man views sex with you is not static. It is shaped by a myriad of factors that interact in complex ways. Understanding these influences can provide valuable insights into his mindset and intentions, offering clarity about the depth of the connection shared. Recognizing the nuances of perception allows you to approach intimacy with greater awareness, ensuring that your own emotional needs and boundaries are respected and valued. Sex is far more than a physical act. It is an intricate exchange of energy that intertwines emotional, psychological, and even spiritual elements. When two individuals come together intimately, they are not just sharing a moment of physical closeness, they are merging energies, thoughts, and emotions in ways that leave an imprint on both parties. For men, the way this energy exchange is perceived often depends on their level of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and the intentions they bring to the interaction. This perspective fundamentally alters how they view not only the experience itself, but also their partner. The energetic nature of intimacy means that it carries weight beyond the surface. A man who understands this depth recognizes that sex is not a transaction or merely a momentary pleasure, but an interaction that can influence his emotional and psychological state. He acknowledges that the energy he gives and receives during the experience can either uplift or deplete him, depending on the emotional context of the relationship. For example, when intimacy occurs within a framework of love, respect, and mutual care, the energy exchange often feels nurturing, affirming, and empowering. It fosters a sense of connection and strengthens the bond between partners. On the other hand, when the energy exchange is driven by purely physical desire, manipulation, or emotional voids, the outcome can be entirely different. In such cases, a man may view the act as gratifying in the moment, but leave feeling hollow or disconnected afterward. This sense of emptiness is often a result of an imbalance in the energy exchanged. If one partner is seeking connection and vulnerability while the other is primarily focused on physical satisfaction, the mismatch creates an energetic dissonance that can linger long after the encounter ends. Men who are tuned to their emotional states will often reflect on this dissonance and question the significance of the encounter, while those who are less self-aware may suppress or ignore these feelings, leading to repeated patterns of unfulfilling intimacy. The way men perceive this energy exchange is also influenced by the dynamics of the relationship itself. In a relationship built on trust, communication, and mutual respect, intimacy becomes a powerful tool for deepening the emotional bond. Men in such relationships are likely to view sex as a sacred act of connection, where the energy exchange reaffirms the partnership's strength and stability. They see their partner not just as a physical being, but as someone with whom they can share their vulnerabilities and true selves. This perspective fosters a sense of emotional intimacy that goes far beyond the physical act, creating a holistic connection that resonates on multiple levels. Conversely, in relationships where trust is lacking or where one partner feels used or undervalued, the energy exchange during intimacy often carries negative undertones. Men in such situations may perceive sex as a means to an end rather than a meaningful interaction. The energy they bring to the encounter may be tainted by resentment, insecurity, or a sense of obligation, which inevitably affects how the experience is felt by both parties. Over time, these negative energy exchanges can erode the foundation of the relationship, leading to emotional distance and dissatisfaction. Another layer of complexity lies in the individual energy that each person brings into the intimate space. A man who is confident, emotionally secure, and at peace with himself tends to approach intimacy with a sense of balance and presence. He is able to fully engage in the moment, appreciating the emotional and physical connection without being weighed down by external distractions or internal conflicts. In contrast, a man who carries unresolved emotional baggage or struggles with self-esteem may unconsciously project these issues onto the experience. He might use intimacy as a way to escape his insecurities or to seek validation, creating an even dynamic that affects how he views the encounter. The concept of energy exchange also extends to the aftermath of intimacy. Men often process the experience based on how they feel energetically after the act. A man who feels energized, fulfilled, and connected is likely to view the encounter as positive and meaningful. This sense of fulfillment reinforces his perception of his partner as someone who adds value to his life. However, if the energy exchange leaves him feeling drained, unsettled, or indifferent, he may begin to question the compatibility or significance of the relationship. This reflection is often unconscious but plays a significant role in shaping his attitudes toward intimacy and the person involved. Cultural and societal influences further shape how men interpret the energetic aspects of intimacy. Many men are conditioned to focus solely on the physical gratification of sex, overlooking the emotional and spiritual dimensions. This narrow perspective often prevents them from fully appreciating the depth of the energy exchange and its impact on their well-being. However, men who challenge these societal norms and embrace a more holistic view of intimacy are better equipped to recognize and value the profound connection that can be created through a balanced and intentional energy exchange. The mutual nature of this exchange means that it is not just about how men perceive the experience, but also about how their partner approaches it. When both individuals are aligned in their intentions, values, and emotional readiness, the energy exchange becomes a powerful force that enhances the relationship. Men who experience this alignment often describe the encounter as transformative, leaving them with a sense of gratitude and a deeper appreciation for their partner. In contrast, when there is a lack of alignment, the experience may feel superficial or even detrimental, reinforcing feelings of disconnection or dissatisfaction. Understanding the intricacies of energy exchange allows men to approach intimacy with greater awareness and intentionality. It encourages them to reflect on their own emotional state and the dynamics of their relationships, fostering a deeper appreciation for the significance of the experience. By acknowledging that sex is not just a physical act, but an interaction that carries profound energetic implications, men can cultivate healthier, more fulfilling connections that resonate on every level. Sex is never just about the moment. It carries with it layers of emotional and psychological significance that extend well beyond the physical act. For men, the way they view intimacy often hinges on their personal relationship with respect, both for themselves and for their partner. This respect, or lack thereof, influences not only how they approach the act, but also how they perceive the person with whom they share that experience. It is through this lens of respect that their true feelings and intentions often become evident, shaping the tone and depth of the connection. When a man respects you, his perception of intimacy reflects that respect in profound ways. It begins with his approach to the act itself. A man who holds genuine respect for you will prioritize consent, communication, and mutual satisfaction. He will view intimacy as a collaborative experience where your comfort, boundaries, and desires are just as important as his own. This respect fosters a sense of safety and trust, allowing for a deeper emotional connection to develop. His actions before, during, and after the encounter will consistently reflect his acknowledgement of your value as a person, not merely as a partner in the moment. Respect also influences the emotional weight a man assigns to intimacy. For men who genuinely respect their partner, sex is rarely a casual or detached experience. Instead, it carries a significance that stems from their understanding of the emotional bond it represents. They view the act as an opportunity to connect on a deeper level, to express affection and appreciation in a way that words alone cannot. This emotional depth transforms the experience from a fleeting moment of pleasure into a meaningful exchange that strengthens the foundation of the relationship. On the other hand, a lack of respect is often evident in a man's perception of and behavior around intimacy. Men who do not respect their partners tend to approach sex with a sense of entitlement or detachment. They may view it as a means to fulfill their own desires, with little regard for the emotional impact it may have on the other person. Their focus is often solely on physical gratification, and their actions may reflect a disregard for their partner's feelings, boundaries, or satisfaction. This lack of respect creates an imbalance in the dynamic, leaving one party feeling undervalued or even used. The way a man treats you after intimacy is perhaps one of the clearest indicators of his level of respect. For a man who values and respects you, the experience does not end when the act is over. He will continue to engage with you in ways that demonstrate care and consideration, ensuring that you feel valued and appreciated. This may manifest in simple acts of affection, attentive conversation, or an eagerness to ensure that the emotional connection remains intact. His behavior reinforces the idea that intimacy is part of a larger, ongoing bond rather than an isolated event. Conversely, a man who lacks respect often exhibits a stark shift in behavior once the moment has passed. He may become distant, dismissive, or even avoidant, signaling that his interest was limited to the physical aspect of the experience. This shift can leave the other person feeling unimportant or objectified, highlighting the absence of genuine connection or emotional investment. The disparity between his actions before and after intimacy serves as a telling indicator of his true intentions and level of respect. A man's upbringing, values, and past experiences play significant roles in shaping how he connects respect with intimacy. Men raised in environments where mutual respect and healthy communication were emphasized are more likely to view sex as an act that requires both. They approach intimacy with a sense of responsibility, understanding that their actions have emotional consequences. On the other hand, men who have experienced or internalized toxic notions about relationships may struggle to associate respect with sex, often separating the physical act from the emotional implications it carries. Cultural influences also contribute to how men perceive the connection between respect and intimacy. In societies where respect for women is prioritized and openly discussed, men are more likely to approach relationships and sex with a balanced perspective. They see their partners as equals deserving of care, consideration, and dignity. However, in cultures where patriarchal norms dominate, men may internalize beliefs that diminish the importance of respect in intimate relationships. This disparity underscores the need for broader conversations about equality and mutual regard in all aspects of human connection. Respect also extends to how men view their partner's autonomy and individuality. A man who truly respects you will never see sex as a tool for control or manipulation. Instead, he will honor your right to make choices about your own body and boundaries, approaching intimacy as a shared experience rather than a one-sided transaction. This respect for autonomy fosters a sense of equality, ensuring that both partners feel empowered and valued. A lack of respect, however, often manifests as a disregard for these principles. Men who view sex as a way to assert dominance or gain control are operating from a place of insecurity and immaturity. Their actions are driven by a need to compensate for their own shortcomings, often at the expense of their partner's well-being. This dynamic creates a toxic energy that undermines the potential for genuine connection, leaving both parties unfulfilled and emotionally strained. The respect a man shows or fails to show during intimacy also influences his long-term perception of the relationship. When respect is present, a man is more likely to view the relationship as meaningful and worth investing in. He sees intimacy as a reflection of the broader bond shared, recognizing its role in building trust and emotional closeness. On the other hand, a lack of respect often leads to a shallow perception of the relationship, reducing it to a series of isolated interactions with little emotional resonance. This shallow perspective prevents the relationship from evolving into something deeper and more fulfilling. Understanding the role of respect in shaping a man's view of intimacy provides valuable insights into his character and intentions. It reveals whether he is approaching the relationship with genuine care and integrity or merely seeking to fulfill his own desires without regard for the emotional consequences. Recognizing these dynamics allows for more informed choices about the connections we nurture, ensuring that our own boundaries, needs, and values are honored in the process. The emotional connection a man feels toward you profoundly influences how he perceives sex within the context of your relationship. This connection is not just a fleeting sentiment, but an intricate web of thoughts, feelings, and experiences that shapes his intentions, actions, and overall view of intimacy. When a man is emotionally invested, the physical aspect of your relationship becomes an extension of his feelings for you, carrying with it a weight that goes beyond mere physical pleasure. When a man feels deeply connected to you, he approaches intimacy as a way to express his affection, care, and devotion. To him, sex is not just about the act itself, but about what it represents: closeness, trust, and the mutual vulnerability required to deepen the bond. This emotional connection acts as a lens through which he interprets every interaction, making physical intimacy a meaningful and intentional gesture. He views it as a way to affirm the bond he shares with you, to create memories, and to reinforce the emotional safety that exists between you. This connection also dictates the way he prepares for and engages in the experience. A man who is emotionally connected to you will take the time to understand your needs, desires, and boundaries. He sees intimacy as a shared journey rather than a self-serving act, and he prioritizes your comfort and satisfaction as much as his own. His attentiveness reflects his desire to ensure that the experience is fulfilling for both of you, and his willingness to communicate openly about it stems from a place of genuine care and respect. For men, emotional connection can also influence the way they view the frequency and context of intimacy. When a man feels deeply for you, he doesn't view sex as something that needs to happen out of obligation or routine. Instead, he values quality over quantity, cherishing the moments when both partners are fully present and emotionally aligned. This prioritization of emotional synchronicity means that he is more likely to approach intimacy with patience and understanding, waiting for moments that feel authentic and meaningful. On the other hand, when emotional connection is absent or shallow, a man's perception of sex often reflects this lack. Without the foundation of genuine feelings, intimacy may become transactional or purely physical in nature. He may view the act as a way to satisfy his own needs without fully considering the emotional impact it may have on his partner. This detachment is often apparent in his actions as his focus shifts from fostering a mutual connection to seeking immediate gratification. In relationships where the emotional bond is strong, sex becomes a reflection of the overall health of the connection. A man who feels deeply connected to you will use intimacy as a way to nurture and strengthen the relationship, viewing it as a vital component of the emotional ecosystem you share. He understands that physical closeness is an expression of love and trust, and he approaches it with the same care and consideration that he brings to other aspects of the relationship. Emotional connection also affects how a man perceives and handles challenges in the relationship. When intimacy is underpinned by deep feelings, a man is more likely to approach conflicts with patience and a willingness to communicate. He values the relationship beyond its physical aspects and is invested in resolving issues in a way that preserves the emotional bond. This perspective allows him to separate temporary disagreements from the deeper connection he feels, ensuring that the physical and emotional aspects of the relationship remain intact. The presence or absence of emotional connection is also evident in how a man reacts to intimacy over time. In relationships where emotional closeness exists, the experience of intimacy evolves, becoming richer and more meaningful as trust and understanding deepen. He views the act not as a stagnant ritual, but as a dynamic expression of the relationship's growth. This evolution reflects his commitment to continually investing in the connection, ensuring that intimacy remains a source of joy and fulfillment for both partners. Conversely, when a man lacks emotional connection, his perception of sex often stagnates. Without the deeper bond to guide his actions, he may approach intimacy in a repetitive or mechanical way, devoid of genuine engagement or thoughtfulness. This lack of emotional depth can leave both partners feeling unfulfilled, as the absence of a meaningful connection diminishes the experience's overall value. The emotional connection a man feels also influences the way he views intimacy in relation to other aspects of the relationship. For men who are deeply connected, sex is not an isolated act, but part of a broader narrative that includes shared goals, mutual support, and long-term commitment. They see it as one of many ways to express their feelings and contribute to the relationship's overall well-being. This integrated perspective highlights the importance of emotional connection as a foundation for intimacy and ensures that both partners feel valued and supported. A man's emotional investment is often revealed in the moments surrounding intimacy. Before the act, his attentiveness, kindness, and willingness to engage in meaningful conversation reflect his desire to connect on a deeper level. During the act, his focus on mutual pleasure and his responsiveness to your needs underscore his emotional involvement. Afterward, his continued care, whether through affection, conversation, or simply being present, demonstrates that his feelings extend beyond the physical experience. Emotional connection also influences the way a man views the future of the relationship. When a man is emotionally invested, he sees intimacy as a building block for something greater, a way to deepen trust, create shared experiences, and strengthen the bond over time. He recognizes that the emotional and physical aspects of the relationship are intertwined, and he approaches both with equal care and intention. This long-term perspective ensures that intimacy remains a source of growth and fulfillment for both partners. A man's perception of sex is deeply influenced by his level of maturity and self-awareness, shaping how he views intimacy, relationships, and his role as a partner. This maturity is not solely tied to age, but rather reflects his emotional intelligence, ability to understand himself, and the way he interprets and values physical connection. It serves as a lens through which he evaluates the meaning and purpose of intimacy, determining whether he views it as a fleeting pleasure, a means of control, or a profound way to bond with another person. For men with a high degree of self-awareness, sex is not just an act, it is a reflection of their inner values and the depth of their emotional engagement. They approach intimacy with intention, seeking to align their actions with their beliefs about respect, mutual satisfaction, and emotional connection. They understand that sex is not merely about physical fulfillment, but also about building trust, nurturing vulnerability, and expressing care for their partner. Their approach to intimacy becomes an extension of their character, showcasing their ability to prioritize the well-being of another person alongside their own. Mature men recognize the responsibilities that come with physical intimacy. They are aware of the emotional impact that their actions can have on their partner and take this into consideration before, during, and after the act. They avoid impulsivity, instead opting for thoughtful and deliberate choices that align with their values and the nature of the relationship. This maturity manifests in their ability to have open and honest conversations about boundaries, desires, and expectations, ensuring that both partners feel respected and heard. Self-aware men also demonstrate an understanding of the broader implications of intimacy. They recognize that sex, while important, is just one part of a healthy and fulfilling relationship. They view it as a component of a larger emotional and spiritual connection rather than the sole focus of their bond. This perspective allows them to approach intimacy with a sense of balance, ensuring that their actions are consistent with the overall health and trajectory of the relationship. In contrast, men who lack maturity and self-awareness often approach sex with a limited perspective, focusing on immediate gratification rather than the broader context. Their view of intimacy may be shaped by societal pressures, misconceptions, or personal insecurities, leading to behaviors that prioritize their own needs over their partners. This lack of depth can result in a transactional or superficial approach to intimacy, where the emotional and relational aspects are neglected. Maturity also influences the way a man navigates the complexities of a relationship. Men with emotional intelligence understand that intimacy is not always perfect or effortless. They are willing to engage in the difficult conversations that may arise around the topic, addressing insecurities, misunderstandings, or unmet needs with patience and empathy. They view these challenges as opportunities for growth, using them to deepen the connection and improve the quality of the relationship over time. Men with self-awareness also understand the importance of consent, communication, and respect in all aspects of intimacy. They prioritize their partner's comfort and well-being, ensuring that both individuals feel valued and empowered. This level of care reflects their ability to step outside of themselves and consider the experience from their partner's perspective. They approach intimacy with humility, recognizing that it's a shared journey rather than a personal conquest. For mature men, sex is an extension of the emotional and intellectual bond they share with their partner. They see it as a way to celebrate the uniqueness of the relationship, creating moments of connection that go beyond words. Their actions are driven by a desire to build something meaningful rather than seeking temporary validation or physical pleasure. This perspective allows them to view intimacy as a collaborative effort, where both partners contribute to and benefit from the experience. Maturity also shapes the way men perceive the aftermath of intimacy. A man with self-awareness understands that the moments following a sexual encounter are just as important as the act itself. He values the opportunity to express gratitude, affection, and care, reinforcing the emotional connection that intimacy has created. He recognizes that these actions demonstrate his respect for the relationship and his commitment to maintaining its strength and integrity. A self-aware man also takes responsibility for his actions and their impact. He is willing to reflect on his behavior and make adjustments when necessary, understanding that growth is a continuous process. This accountability ensures that he approaches intimacy with a sense of purpose and mindfulness, avoiding actions that could harm or diminish the relationship. His willingness to learn and evolve reflects his dedication to becoming a better partner and person. Maturity and self-awareness also influence a man's ability to resist external pressures and societal expectations surrounding sex. Men with a strong sense of self are not swayed by cultural narratives that equate masculinity with sexual conquest or dominance. Instead, they define their own values and priorities, choosing to approach intimacy in a way that aligns with their authentic selves. This independence allows them to form deeper and more meaningful connections, free from the constraints of external judgment or influence. For these men, sex is not about proving their worth or fulfilling a role, but about creating a space where both partners can feel safe, valued, and understood. They view intimacy as a shared experience that enriches the relationship, bringing joy and fulfillment to both individuals. Their actions are guided by a deep understanding of their own emotions and a genuine desire to connect with their partner on all levels. Self-awareness also enables men to recognize the significance of timing and readiness in intimacy. They understand that physical connection should be built on a foundation of mutual trust, respect, and emotional alignment. They are willing to wait for the right moment, prioritizing the quality of the experience over the immediacy of gratification. This patience reflects their ability to honor the unique dynamics of the relationship, ensuring that intimacy is a source of growth and joy rather than conflict or regret.